We have Cole Blazer from men's lacrosse. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us. This is fantastic.
So first, I'll kind of to jump straight into things. It's your senior year, couple games left. What are kind of the feelings going on there?
It's a similar feeling to the years past. Last game, probably our biggest test going into Denver, solidifying a spot already in the Big East tournament. We're fighting for Game 7 at this point. You can consider it watching basketball and stuff, all the basketball series. We got our backs against the wall, and we're fighting for more time, especially as a senior. Like I was thinking today, I was in the weight room, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, my gosh, this literally could be my last lift. I went to John, I went to Todd, I was giving them a fist pound and everything, like, thank you. This literally could be my last lift.
That has to be a weird feeling then, because you've done so many of them over your 4 years.
I mean, yeah, too many to count, and then it's funny, the last couple have just been so memorable literally because of that fact. Like, our time is precious here, and especially as a senior, it's exemplified tenfold.
Is there anything that's kind of been different besides just it being one of the last ones that's kind of making it especially memorable for you?
Well, I mean, you imagine this is the time everything's coming together. As a senior, you should be at the peak of your performance and everything. As at the end of the season, you'd hope our guys are healthy, and you hope our team's putting it together. I'm excited for this weekend. It will be a great test for that. So that's kind of what we're expecting.
And then kind of doing a bit of a rewind here to your sophomore year, the Villanova game.
Yes.
What was that like getting your first career start?
That was, talk about nerves throughout that entire week. Coach let me know. We were sitting down in film. That was big transition. Jimmy Danaher, who loved that guy to death. He was, I was brought up and, took his spot for that week. Coach let us know in film. He's like, Cole, you got this. We believe in you. You just need to perform. So I was sitting there trembling in my boots, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Villanova, number 5 offense or whatever. And throughout that entire week, Coach Brundage did a fantastic job of doing what we needed, of dedicating time in our warm-up and stuff like that. And I didn't even tell my dad either. I didn't even tell my dad that that I got that start for that week, just because I wanted it to be a surprise. Unfortunately, I think he was talking to some of the parents beforehand. On Friday night, he knew.
So the surprise did not last as long as anticipated.
Exactly. Not as long, but it was still a fantastic surprise for him, I know. And during the game, it was really funny. Our senior banquet, I always wondered this, and now I found out why. Our senior banquet a couple weekends ago, Coach Amplo said in the middle of that game, he remembers it clearly, after our halftime, this is what he said. He goes, Cole, he told the whole bench when we were all on the field, Cole is literally pitching a perfect game right now. No one talked to him. And I remember that, like, thinking, where is everyone? Why, where are my teammates? Why are they ignoring me right now? I mean, I was so mentally locked and loaded that it didn't necessarily matter. But I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, now I know why. It didn't, being the crazy goalie and everything, you don't want to get in his head and psych him out the second half. But that was an extremely memorable game, memorable evening and everything. That was wonderful.
It sounds like your dad goes up then for a lot of games.
He does, yeah. He tries to make everything he can, at least years past. He's made it especially precedent this year, senior year, to make it to all of them. He's missed a couple just because, he's still got to work and everything like that. But, only living an hour away, too. This is right in his backyard. He can make practically everything.
And then speaking of relationships, seems like Amplo really builds quite the bond with each of his players. What's your relationship with Amplo like?
Coach Amplo brings out the best of everyone. He will literally extract it and know how to pull it out of anyone and everyone. He's got his challenges and stuff like that. I feel like my relationship with Coach is, what should I say? I feel like it's a very well-established, well-built relationship. And it started that sophomore year. Freshman year, I was really timid. I was still trying to figure out my way, talking to Amplo when he's got that stare at you and everything. I mean, it's intimidating. But once you know his true motive of pulling the best out of him, you can really start to see his heart and his love and everything and his passion. I mean, it's all for passion. You start to see right away, it's all about passion. And so really sophomore year when I was working on his Mustang and stuff like that. I know that story has been around a little bit. Going to his house on Sundays, being with his kids and just saying hi while they're playing in the yard and, doing hopscotch and stuff like that. That's really where I built my relationship with him off of the lacrosse field as, mano a mano as a person, creating that bond.
And then how much of it has the bond been with that Mustang? Really kind of dual passion there. I've heard a few things too about where that Mustang is now. So.
Yeah, so the Mustang is a project. And Coach will always say, it's funny because Coach will always preach to us, it's all about the process, especially with lacrosse. Through the entire year, through the entire season, it's all about the process. You got to trust the process. So it's been nice because I've been able to revert that back to him and be like, Coach Amplo, if you want a nice Mustang, if you want it to turn out, nice, got to trust the process. But
the 76ers.
Like the 76ers, yeah. And look at the year that they're having.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it's been like. I mean, it was it hadn't ran in quite a while, and so we took on a big task. Coach Amplo loves busting chops and stuff like that, and getting the best of you and making little retorts and remarks and stuff like that. So it's been thick and thin of retorts and busting chops and like, when are you going to get my Mustang done and everything like that, which is funny. It's all fun and games, really.
So where is it at this point?
Yeah, I was just about to get to that. So right now there was it being a New York and Milwaukee car since literally '68. I mean, the whole underbody was rusted and everything. Something that myself and one of my teammates, Dylan Dabrowski, couldn't necessarily do in his garage. So it's currently at his father's auto body shop. His dad owns a collision repair shop. He's a one-man crew, and he does it all. And this is literally a labor of love for him. So it's currently out in New Jersey. The Mustang's out in New Jersey where that shop is, and Mr. Dabrowski has poured blood, sweat, and tears, close to 200 hours in that thing, just to make it immaculate for Coach.
And I've heard that Coach has given you a bit of a hard time about that not being quite ready yet.
Oh yeah, and that's what I mean about busting chops. And he knows deep down that he realizes what we're doing, and he realizes the sacrifice that we made on those Sundays. Getting away from our schoolwork, getting away from our buddies and stuff, getting away from our Xbox, and going there and wrenching. But that's something that it was a labor of love for us too. We really enjoyed that, and so. Yeah, it's been constant busting of the chops and everything, and I think until it's done, and probably even until when he does have it and is driving around, he's still gonna give me crap for it.
That kind of seems just like who Amplo is.
Oh yeah, totally.
Any other Amplo stories besides the Mustang that really stand out as you look back at the last couple of years?
None that I can't use an F-bomb in. Let's just say that. But hey, it's a beautiful word. It's a beautiful word for him, and it gets his message across.
Yeah, we can bleep it out.
Oh yeah, I guess that you guys will edit this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, what have your relationships been like with your teammates, especially some of the seniors? You've kind of seen a lot past few years, and obviously people like Johnny Wagner have been just amazing this year. So what has that been like?
So for our senior class specifically, coming in, we started at 14 guys, and now we're down to 6. So that in itself is pretty shocking. Yeah. Myself coming in, I was technically being a walk-on, I didn't have that official visit with these guys. So me coming in freshman year, I knew none of them. I knew none of them at all. And I quickly, living in O'Donnell with them, and obviously seeing them every day at practice, unfortunately, I didn't have many of them in class. We didn't have the similar classes. But just being around them, I quickly grew a strong bond with them. And I'll tell you, these 6 guys, 5 guys, not including myself, are the ones that are remaining have fully bought in and have really encapsulated what we are as Marquette lacrosse. And so there's no reason that they're not still here.
So then with you not being able to take that official visit and everything, how did Amplo recruit you?
So recruitment was, I'll tell everyone, everyone has their own recruiting story, especially myself. And I was getting looked at here a little bit going into that summer going into my junior year. Being from Illinois, it's pretty tough, to be honest, considering when most of our guys are from out east or out west or even Canada and stuff like that. Those are kind of the hotbeds of lacrosse currently. So it's a challenge for us here in the Midwest to try and get recruited. Fortunately, Marquette being in the backyard, it's pretty easy, or at least it's easier, I should say. And so it didn't pan out my junior year. I was sent an urgent email the day before I was supposed to visit from Coach Brundage. Actually, he's the main recruiter. He said, "Cole, apologize. We recruited a guy ahead of you. We committed him. Good luck with the rest of the process." It came around to be my senior season actually. I applied to schools and I was committed to going here academically. And one of my old coaches, this is one of the most memorable remarks that I have. He told me, "Cole, you haven't spoke to Coach Brundage in the last 2 years. What could have changed then? A lot could have changed. You should give him a call up and just see what's going on." And that's exactly what I did. I was in gym class. I remember clearly, I was in gym class, and senior year, it's senioritis is at the max and everything. We're outside, it's a beautiful day. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna give Coach Brundage a call right now. Called him up, said, "Hey coach, I hope you remember me, yada, yada, yada. I'm coming. Is there any opportunity for me on the team?" He goes, "You know what, Cole, this is extremely fortunate because the guy who had committed ahead of me decommitted and went somewhere else. So then there was that spot open." That led the way for me to kind of step in there. Coach came down to see a game of mine my senior season and make sure everything was going well. And from there, the ball was rolling. I visited then in the summer. And my family and the whole coaching staff, we got lunch together just to have that kind of formality. So that was my official, technically an unofficial because they didn't pay for lunch, but
They don't even pay for lunch.
No, I know, but I understand. It's part of, the NCAA rules. They don't want to get in trouble.
And then since you've been here, it seems like a few rivalries are starting to really pick up. Denver is maybe a rival, Notre Dame is a rival. Is there one in particular that kind of has a special meaning for you?
You're totally on point with Notre Dame being a rival, especially from the loss that we had. I mean, I'm just getting fired up sitting here right now, just bringing that up. Notre Dame has definitely been, them being in the Midwest with us never beating them, but always being so close, that has churned a rivalry for us. Another team, though, I will be honest, has been Georgetown. Georgetown, them being up and down throughout the last couple of years, they always give us a dogfight, and it's a blast of a game to be in. If you look at it the last 4 years, it's always been a one-goal game, too. It's always been a one-goal game, and until last year, the home team had always won, too. So, fortunately, we were able to, knock them off in DC and everything, but that has been, for me, that's always been a rivalry. They play us tough, we play them tough. And it shows on the scoreboard. It's always a one-goal game.
And it seems like the one-goal games is almost a thing that's happening even, against everybody. So what's going on here? It's like you guys just can't win a game big or lose a game big. It's always down to the wire.
Well, on the flip side of that, I like to think that we have the toughness and we know how to come out with a win. Might not be pretty, but it was really funny because I was actually thinking about this today a little bit. When Jimmy was playing and starting, my freshman year, I remember we went 7-0. We were 7-0, spring break. We felt like on the top of the world. We were ranked 9 at that point. And majority of those games had been one-goal games. And also, overtime wins and stuff like that. Yeah. And I remember after I believe it was the Richmond win, we were down 3 points in the fourth quarter, came back, won by a goal. Kind of like what's going on this year. Jimmy comes off the field and is like, "Oh my gosh, this was our 7th, I believe it was our 7th win." Goes, "Oh my gosh, I don't think my heart can take this anymore. Can we win by a larger margin than just one? Like, we're all having heart attacks out there." And I'm feeling that this year. I think we're all feeling that. But again, I feel like we have that toughness to embrace the game, embrace the situation, strap up our boots when we are down by a couple, and offense is able to find a way to put the ball in the back of the net when they need to, and we're able to, on the defensive end, get some stops when we need to as well.
And some of those one-goal games have been pretty memorable. Any of those that particularly stand out? I'm guessing the Denver game a couple years ago has to be high up on that list.
Totally. The Denver game, that last minute, talk about another instance in memory that I have shaking in my boots, like, oh my gosh, Denver at home, championship, they got the ball, there's a minute left to go. what's going to happen? If they're shooting, I need to save this and everything. That was an extremely memorable one. One from this year was wildly exciting, was the Ohio State win, too. And I know what was exciting about that was they're doing, I believe it's Inside Lacrosse, or I don't quite know the... Ohio State is covered. There's some media outlet that's doing a full cover of the season.
Like beat writer.
Yes, exactly. And they did a little spread on our game against them, and they're like heartbreaking loss, last minute, overtime save, and then quick goal. And I remember they showed not only Johnny's goal, but then also my save, which was like, I'll admit it was definitely a lucky save. I was able to get a piece of it, but then I was able to pinch it with my other leg, and it didn't squeak in the goal. But just like stuff like that, and the media coverage, and seeing that, and again, like someone like an Ohio State, who's been extremely reputable in the Midwest and everything, those kind of one-goal games have been extremely memorable.
And then the program has kind of made it to the same stage a couple times, losing in the first round of the NCAA tournament. What does the program need to do to really take that next step?
I think we need to realize that we're Marquette Lacrosse. We've proven that we can play with the big dogs, and we deserve to be here. We've won. The fact that we've gotten the last two Big East championships the last couple of years has proven that we can do that. Well, what can we do next? And that's the question I think we need to really answer, and we need to really assess as a team. And it kind of goes along, I don't know if you've seen our senior posters from this year, with all of us kind of looking back at the trophies and like what's next. That's the idea. That's the mantra that we have. It's like, what is next? We got to get over the hurdle of the championships, of the Big East championships. I mean, we still have to be present in the moment and obviously compete and win that, because that's hugely amazing in its own right.
Yeah.
But then it's answering that question of what's next. What do we need to do? What kind of mindset do we need to be in? Because it's not about, no sport's about who's the better team. It's the team that plays the best. Playing UNC first round 2 years ago, playing Notre Dame 2 years, arguably both those schools are better than us. We're better than us. But it didn't matter because, unfortunately, I guess against UNC, we showed up. That was a dogfight of a game, I believe, and another one-goal game. Fortunately, we just weren't able to string it out. And then Notre Dame last year, we were not the best team out on that field.
And then you're saying what's next? What do you think could be next for this program?
Coach Amplo has been preaching this idea that he wants us to get a national championship. Might not be this year, might not be next year, but it's going to happen, and it's going to happen with him here. And I fully believe, buy in, and back him on that. This summer, he wrote a full plan outlining how he's going to accomplish it. And now, it's a little classified, can't really go into it too much. But I went into his office and asked him, can I read that? I want to get in the same mindset and same frame of mind as you. And I sat down and read it, and I'm like, you know what? If you're able to follow this to a T, I really think you can do it. He's got it's unfortunate being a senior and reading something like that. I'm like, man, I can't be a part of that. But that is next. Now, that's a mountain to climb. That's a hurdle. What I think we need to do to be able to get to that point is first thing we need to do is not only get to the tournament, but then get to the second round. That's the first step. Just like there's a reason you prompted that question of what is next, how do we get past that first round. That's going to be the first hurdle. Because if you see 2 years ago when we played UNC, our game, other than the championship game, was the closest game that they played. UNC was hot during the playoffs, and they had steamrolled all the teams after us.
Yeah.
And so that's what we need to do just to build that confidence and have that gusto of get through that first round, and then from there, the floodgates are open for us.
What are you going to miss the most next year?
What am I going to miss the most next year? I'm going to be honest, the routine is pretty awesome. And now there's the time commitment, obviously, can be stressful, and how much we put into school and lacrosse. But the routine, especially now, of waking up, being with the guys at the crack of dawn, early in the morning, practicing, traveling with them tomorrow, eating dinner with them tomorrow night, Coach Amplo cracking some jokes, busting some chops like he always does, making us laugh, and going on the road, competing and kicking butt. That's literally the routine of that is what I'm going to miss the most. That structure of the team sense, being with guys that I've grown extremely close to, guys that I feel like I'll have a relationship with the rest of my life. And some of us seniors parting ways and going and moving out of here, and even the guy not necessarily being able to be in that routine of practice, lift, traveling, dinner. That's really what I'm going to miss the most.
And then one last question.
Yes.
How do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a big question. I want to be remembered by one of the hardest working goalies that Marquette has ever seen. One of the toughest goalies that has overcome the most. And I want to be seen as a person and a player that has helped establish the culture and tradition of our program. Because the seniors, if you want to say, a couple of years ago, they were the ones to pioneer it, essentially. I want to be remembered as someone who was able to take hold of that and continue it on and grow it, and then hopefully pass it down to some of the younger guys. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pass down that culture that was pioneered by the seniors, brought onto our shoulders, and then passed down, to some of the younger guys. I would want to come back in 5-10 years as an alum and see and talk to guys who are currently playing and see things and quirks that are similar amongst our team and their team. That's really what I want to be remembered by.
Okay, well, that's all the time that we have.
Great.
So thanks again for
John, thank you so
joining us.
much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.